Welcome to You Ask, We Answer, where our team breaks down your real questions about indoor air quality in a way that's clear, practical, and honest. Let's get started. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, so this is Dan. He's our air filtration specialist.
That's correct.
A question that I have for you is that I've heard rumor that your filters last 3 years. NovusAer filters last 3 years. Now, this sounds really crazy to me because I'm used to the once a month, maybe every 6 months. So is this true?
It is. It's all about surface area.
Okay.
So the more surface area you have in your filtration system, the more places there are for the dirt to be deposited. While air can still get through. So, and the NovusAer filter has a lot of surface area.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, more surface area than any other residential filter on the market.
Okay. So how much more? I'm used to these little squares, right? That's the filter. It goes into our furnace about this big, maybe. So how much bigger then?
Okay. So your average pleated furnace filter is somewhere between 4 to 7 square feet. Okay. The NovusAer air filtration system has 240 square feet.
Holy cow.
Of surface area.
Yeah, that's a really big difference.
60 times.
Okay.
60 times the surface area of your standard filter. So it's literally like you have 60 furnace filters in your furnace all at once.
Okay, so instead of changing my furnace filter every month, it's like I just have a backup supply of these 1-month filters in my furnace working for me all the time.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's not just about the time only, though. It's not about having, filters last 3 years. It's also about having so much area for the dirt to collect, but so much area for the air to get through. So it's about being able to collect a lot of dust and still letting air pass through, because you have to have both. You can't just collect dirt and not let the air through.
Okay, so I couldn't go and just buy 6 regular filters and stash them all together and shove them in my furnace.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. What's funny, as a young technician, I did that. I just for fun, I put 2 filters, just 2, in my own furnace, and quickly found out that, no, I didn't get better filtration. Well, I might have got better filtration, but I didn't get any air through.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's all about capturing dust and still allowing air to flow.
Yeah, because, I've had experiences where my AC has frozen over because of lack of airflow. We close the vents up or whatever and don't have enough airflow. And so I'm assuming if you were to just go to the grocery store or, Home Depot and get filters and stack them all up, that's exactly what would happen. You'd have issues with your AC breaking down or your furnace breaking down.
Yeah, I would say in the summertime, at least 20% of our calls were from customers who our dispatchers learned to ask those questions in order to find out if their air conditioner has frozen up because their filter's plugged up.
Okay.
And so they would walk them through, find out that their air conditioner was frozen up, and they would walk them through how to do that so we didn't have to send out a service technician.
Yeah.
And then they would change their filter after it had thawed out and everything was good.
With NovusAer, you've got 60 air filters that are just essentially changing themselves as you sit and twiddle your thumbs.
That's correct.
Awesome. Okay, so this is really unique. I've never heard of anything like this before. And so how did you come up with this? Because my understanding is that you are the one who came up with this entire idea. So How did you even come up with this?
Well, back in 2010, I learned about a Swiss-made air filtration system that is essentially, that's when I learned the term extended surface area media filter. and they promised that their filters would last for 3 years. And we installed quite a few of their filters, and after 3 years, we found out that, hey, they're right. They did last 3 years. And so I took that concept of an extended surface area media filter, in other words, a filter that has lots of surface all packed into a small space, and invented and patented my own.
On the NovusAer website and in these videos, we've talked a lot about media air filters.
Mm-hmm.
What is a media air filter? Why is it called a media air filter?
It's just simply because it has lots of filter media.
Okay,
in other words, the fabric itself, it's called media.
Gotcha.
So a pleated filter is a media filter, also the kind that you can get from the hardware store or the grocery store. It just has a 1-inch filter and 1-inch pleats in there. And so it's a 1-inch pleated media filter. And then just lots of manufacturers over the years have learned that, okay, more surface area means longer life and better filtration. And so that's where those large surface area media filters came about.
Okay, so you're talking about media air filters. What other kind of air filters are there?
There are lots of other kinds of air filters. There's electronic air filters. There's electrostatic air filters. There are fiberglass filters. There are polyester media filters. Charcoal filters. We kind of talked about that for odors. There are bag filters. They really look like vacuum bags in your system.
Okay.
Only those are for commercial.
Does NovusAer only compare in its quality to a media air filter, or can you also compare its quality in catching PM 2.5 particles to these other types of filters as well?
Essentially what you're talking about is the MERV rating system. Okay? So almost all the filters we've talked about should and responsibly be measured with a MERV test, which was invented and set up by the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers back in 1987. And that's a great topic that we should talk about in another video.
All right, sounds good. We'll be sure to do that.
There's one other awesome benefit that we haven't talked about, okay? Besides clean air, okay? And the fact that it only needs to be changed once every 3 years, that's less hassle and convenient, but think about everyone that has equipment in hard-to-reach places. Like, what about a crawl space? Who wants to go into their crawl space every month to change their filter?
Definitely not me.
Especially, it's a crawl space. You have to crawl to get there.
And it's usually not fun to be in there.
Spiders and whatever. Attics. Getting up into an attic to change the filter can be a real adventure, shall we say?
Sure.
It can be quite difficult for people to access their attic. And then I think about elderly people who have difficulty with stairs if their furnace is in the basement and they have to change their filter once a month. That's an awesome benefit to have a filter that lasts 3 years. We even had a customer, there was an older customer who didn't really even want it cold in her house. And so in the summertime, the air conditioning was quite high. And she didn't run the fan continuously to clean the air. And she wanted to save money in the winter, so she kept the house cool. So her system really didn't run very much. Her air filters actually lasted for 5 years.
Okay, so you're saying that, I guess, minimum every 3 years, there's the possibility that you could make your filters last above and beyond that.
You could have the scenario where your filters actually last longer than 3 years, yes.
Well, that makes me think, what about the opposite, right? So we have like the very clean, older woman. But then, like, let's say we've got a house, 6 kids, 3 dogs, dirt, whatever, lots of activity, lots of particles in the air. We have the opposite scenario. What then?
Yes, that's true. You might not get 3 years of life out of your air filter. And that's why we actually have a filter indicator on the unit itself that tells you when it's time to change the air filter. But let's talk about the pet scenario, because that's quite unique. Let's say you have dogs that shed. Well, the interesting thing about dog hair and a pleated filter is the dog hair doesn't go into the filter, it sits right on top of it. And so I might have, each filter has 60 square feet, but in reality, on the surface, it's only 2.7 square feet. And so if that gets matted and covered with dog hair, it blocks the airflow. And so if you have a NovusAer and pets that shed, then what we recommend is you will still get 3 years of life out of it, but once a year, you're going to have to pull the filters out and you're going to have to vacuum off the dog hair. So the air can still get through and the particles can still get into those pleats.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, so it sounds like if somebody wants clean air without constant filter changes, that NovusAer is a great solution.
Yes. Less hassle, better air, and your equipment breathes easier too.
You breathe easier, the equipment breathes easier.
Win-win.
All right, thank you so much for being here today. Hopefully that answered your question on how frequent to change your NovusAer filter.
So feel free to leave your comments or questions in the comment box below, and maybe your question will be answered in one of our next video presentations. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching You Ask, We Answer. For more tips and resources, visit us at essentialairproducts.com. Clean air starts